they also figured, look, we got to run Palestine now that we have it, okay? We can't do it by ourselves. British imperialism was always based on using somebody in the country against the bulk of the natives. Like in India, they tended to back the Muslims against the Hindus. I'm using that as an example. Or in Ireland, the Protestants against the Catholics. So they figured they would use the Zionists against the Arabs.
All right, we don't have a lot of time, so I want to jump right into some of the documents. One is the Zionist Federation addresses the new German state. Yes. So I guess this is a couple months after Hitler is chosen to be chancellor. And there's a sentence in there that says something like, the new state which has established the principle of race, we wish to fit our community into the structure.
Yes. What they did was in June of 1933, Hitler came to power in January 30th, 1933. In June, they sent the Nazis a document which wasn't published until 1963 in German in Israel. And basically what they were saying is, hey, hi Adolf, you guys are racist, and so are we, group, that's the name, the group, that's the thing, etc., etc. And you want us out of here, and we want Palestine, so let's do a deal. And what they literally did was they worked out this agreement called the Haravara, or transfer agreement.
So that's the next document I was going to ask about, the agreement for transferring property from Germany to Palestine.
Okay. Now, any German, didn't matter whether you were a Jew or a Gentile, if you, in 1933, we're talking about the depths of the Depression, okay? Everybody's broke. I mean, governments are broke, So if you wanted to take money out of Germany, no matter who you were, you got nicked at the border for like 25%, okay? So what the Zionists and the Nazis did was they worked out a deal where instead of sending the money out over the border, that a Jew would hand over, let's say, 100,000 Reichsmarks. I'm just being arbitrary, 100,000 Reichsmarks to the Nazi government, and the Nazi government would then ship 80,000 Reichsmarks worth of, let's say, steel pipes to Palestine, where the Zionists would then sell the pipes to themselves, to the Arabs, whoever they could, and then give the money to the emigre Jew when he arrived in Palestine. So it was cheaper for the Jew to go out that way than to get nicked for more money going to New York.
Well, that sounds nice, but weren't other Jews then demanding that people not buy any German product?
Of course. What this meant was that the Zionist movement was breaking what you might call the automatic, spontaneous boycott of German goods by Jews all over the world. They actually were selling things like steel pipes and stuff like, whatever the Germans shipped them, they were selling them all over the Middle East. And they even tried to sell them in Europe, but like the British Zionists said, listen, don't try to do it here. I mean, that will just create problems. People will wonder what the hell's going on, But they were selling the goods all over the Middle East, okay? Now, to make matters worse, in 1937, the Haganah, which was the underground militia of the labor Zionists, who were the dominant element in the World Zionist Organization, sent a guy by the name of Feivel Polkus to Berlin to negotiate over the Haravara with the Nazis. And and as it happened, the Nazi who was assigned to negotiate with him was Adolf Eichmann, okay, who
who later transports millions of Jews to their death.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he is Mr. Holocaust, so to speak. Okay, but at any rate, what happened was that Polkus invited Eichmann to Palestine to visit the Zionist kibbutzes, etc., etc. So he gets to Palestine. He's there for a day when the British realize, who is this guy? You know? And they kick him out. Okay? So he and Polkus go to Cairo. And again, they start negotiating. Now, what Polkus told him was, look, if you make the Haravara transfer agreement even more favorable to us, I'll spy for you. I'll try to locate oil in the Middle East for you.
I mean, we have some stunning stuff here, breaking the boycott against Hitler, bringing von Mildenstein, bringing Eichmann. Want to talk now about Hitler's buddy, Mussolini.
Okay.
What kind of relations did some Zionists have with him?
Right. Okay. Now, Mussolini, his image was that he wanted to recreate the Roman Empire, okay, in the Mediterranean. So he saw Britain as a rival, because, you know, Britain ran Britain and France as his rivals, because they had Palestine, the British had Palestine and Egypt, the French had Syria and Lebanon, and Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco, etc. So, you know, he became their enemy, all right? Now, as I said before, when Jabotinsky, the founder of Zionist revisionism, he wanted the Zionists to demand that the British revise their policy, and the World Zionist Organization wouldn't do it. So he decided to go looking for another mandatory to take over from Britain in Palestine, all right? Well, who was the only one who could even possibly do that was Mussolini in Italy, okay? Now, Jabotinsky's first attitude, you have to understand something about Jabotinsky. Jabotinsky was one of the world's leading linguists, and he had lived in Italy for 3 years, and he spoke letter-perfect Italian, okay? Italians couldn't believe that he wasn't Italian, all right? He was so enthusiastic for the Italy before Mussolini that when Mussolini came to power, he didn't like him, and he called him the head buffalo, okay? You know, leading the rest of the buffaloes. But he needed somebody to replace the British who were getting soft on the Arabs, all right? So he became more and more pro-Italian, and finally, in 1935, Mussolini invited Jabotinsky's youth group called Betar, and had cadets from Betar trained at Mussolini's Naval Academy. Okay, that's the equivalent of Annapolis in the United States, all right? And what literally happened was that they had about, over a period of about a year or so, 130 guys trained on ships and so on by Mussolini. And they literally, Mussolini came, when they opened up their squadron at his academy, he came, you know, as a sign of, you know, his friendship, etc., and they wrote it up, and their report on their squadron at Civitavecchia is in the book.